Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is May 15th, 2024, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And it's Wednesday, which means we get to spend time looking back over the last 7 days, which seems nuts. We'll get into that this particular week and talk about all the news that we thought was noteworthy. And so today we have Jumi, Beth, Andy, and Brian. And we appreciate you guys being here. We've been talking all this week about not only all the amazing news, but coming out of the 200 show, which was last Friday. Go check out that episode if you like. But we're really seeing, growth numbers and stuff. So we just want to, I want to personally say, I know we all believe it. Thank you to everybody who's listening. If you really, really are getting value out of this, we would love it if you would like it, if you're on YouTube, like it if you're on Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching us. That stuff means a lot to us. We can see it on the back end and it helps the show grow and hopefully reach some more viewers and listeners along the way. This week has been nutso in terms of the volume of content that's come out on a Monday or Tuesday. So obviously we had not as big actually comparatively to Google, but OpenAI came out with a relatively short update, but with some big changes on Monday. We spent pretty much all of yesterday's show. We did spend all of yesterday's show diving into those. I have a few updates I know I want to share on that. And then Google had their I/O event yesterday, which went for 2 hours. And they talked about all sorts of AI stuff. Now, we will talk about that a little bit on today's show, but just know that tomorrow, meaning Thursday's show, 5/16, we are going to do a whole show on Google. Not just I/O, but even some of the stuff they didn't mention, if you can believe it, about what Google has been doing and pushing into the AI space. So that will be tomorrow's show. So with that in mind, because we could easily just talk about I/O all today, and I know it's a news show, but we're going to leave the bulk of that for tomorrow. I will just kick it off really quick. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware because it kind of I feel like it maybe got a little overshadowed on the OpenAI announcements. And we talked more yesterday about the future of agents and how what they're doing with their voice and vision are really going to set the stage. Their desktop looks to be, sharing screens and the things you can do there. We talked about a lot of that yesterday, but I think I mentioned it right at the end of the show, but I want to reiterate, probably one of the bigger announcements actually to come out of Monday for me was what they have now released to the free user. And so I just wanted to pause really quick because it is newsworthy to just set the ground here on what is actually available. So it's super easy, right? They basically said, okay, if you now have a free account, this is, you guys correct me if I say any of this wrong. If you just go to chatgpt.com, you can use, without logging in, you can use the chatbot right there. You can use ChatGPT. To my best knowledge, and based on what Aaron was saying in our Slack channel, that is actually still 3.5. But that means you're not logging in. Okay. But now you can log in, obviously, like many, many millions of people have, and created a free account of ChatGPT. This is what I know to be for my current situation, because I have a free account on the side that my daughter uses a lot. You do currently have access to 4.0. It will not say that. It actually just, if you look up in the URL, it actually says 4.0, or at least it did for me. But there's nothing specifically that says, oh, you're using this model. It's basically the default in there. You now also can upload images and ask it to converse back and forth with you. I did that earlier today just to test that. So, hey, what's going on in this image? What's this broken piece on my bicycle? You see that a lot, like, how do I fix this chain right here? You could do those kind of things. And on the free account, you absolutely can have conversations back and forth. Now, you can also upload data documents. It has access to all the code interpreter stuff that for a long time wasn't available on the free side, which is very, very powerful. We don't probably talk about that enough, about the data side and analyzing data and organizing and all the amazing things it can do there. You also now have browsing. Huge. Browsing just means now that, from the free side, which you could not do in the past, you only had 3.5 and you could not browse, you now can get up-to-date data on there. Now, I will tell you, it hallucinated the very first time I asked it for the latest NBA update scores, and it had both scores wrong, which was amazing to me. I'm like, how do you provide me a citation and get it wrong? So I said, you got it wrong. I don't see that to be the answer. And then it got it right. But there you go. Careful with browsing and always make sure you're verifying your results. But you have browsing now, which is huge. You have memory, which was already there, but you have memory. So it's good to remind people that you can build up a memory now across chats on the free side as well as the paid side. And then last, but I don't have access to it, I don't know that it's rolled out for some or all or whatever, are actually the custom GPTs. So funny enough, if I go take a link from a custom GPT, a shared link from another custom GPT, and I open it up in the same browser that I have the free account in, lo and behold, on the left-hand side, it shows explore chat GPTs or GPTs, I guess it is, right? But if I go to like Grimoire or something like that and actually say start a chat, it then says, oh, you need a paid account to do this, a plus account to do this, which is odd. It's like a weird sort of back end thing, because if you're just on the normal free side, it does not say explore GPTs at all. So weird. If you share a link, you can then see the whole GPT store, right? Or, whatever they call it, not the store. And then, but you can't currently use them to the best of my knowledge. I think I nailed everything there. Oh, and your user limits are going to be lower than the paid side. And I did find it to be a bit slower with its responses. But I just want to put that out there because that's pretty amazing. And that opens up the doors to lots of people getting a ton of value. So if you've only ever used the free side of ChatGPT before this week, you need to stop what you're doing. Well, listen to the rest of the show. Right after the show, go over to ChatGPT and start using it again and try old prompts that you've used before that you got so results on. And I think you're going to be impressed on how much better they get. Okay. Did I miss anything?
No, I want to reinforce that. I think the biggest, the landmark change here is the emergence of what was behind a paywall, and that is the GPT store. I don't know if there's any other name for it, but the custom GPTs, which are, some of which are incredibly well appointed, in effect, go way beyond, in the form of their prompting and additional knowledge placed in those custom GPTs by their authors. Those are really, really useful. And there's a beautiful way in OpenAI to search for something that will fit, that somebody else has really carefully articulated and is useful. So this is like an app store in effect. And so that being available to free users of OpenAI, I think is a major change. It is of great interest to the people who have been making custom GPTs, because now they open a much larger audience out there. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. The other big takeaway from the OpenAI thing, I think, is that, this GPT-4o model, demonstrated very impressive reaction times and a very much more natural conversational style than any previous interaction, whether with Pi or anything else. So it really is an advance that way, but it's still not available. We can't demonstrate it right now, but the demo videos are there for you to see what's coming. But over the course of the next several months, that will become something that's very, very interesting. The response is very, very quick and natural. And so we're going to be talking to OpenAI's GPT-4o in the near future.
For sure. And I do want to add two more things that happened since that were not announced and also have happened. And those are just some minor UI UX updates on ChatGPT. If you've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed, it now looks like a text thread where it's common for your comments and responses are now right justified, and the responses from ChatGPT are left justified. That was not the case yesterday for me. So that's changed. The other thing that was weird this morning, and I asked you guys on it, and I was like, what's going on with this, is down where you have the paperclip icon for uploading a document or whatever on the pro and on the free side, and on across 3 different accounts that I have for between work and everything else. I got this new blue box that says new connect apps to access files in ChatGPT like docs and spreadsheets. Curious, because they did talk about this and how on their roadmap they were going to help you connect directly to your Google Drive and things like this. But when I click on the paperclip icon, the only thing it did was open up my file explorer, no different than anything we've seen in the past. So it says new connect apps, but it didn't do anything new, and there was no apps to be connected or any sort of new features. So I don't know what that was about. I haven't seen it since, but it was all over all my accounts this morning. Did you guys have that as well?
Yes, but also I just want to make a caveat to the new people because welcome the OpenAI rollout experience.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So the fact that you go and it looks like, wow, these things are available, but they're not really available, but they're kind of available. Some people have it, some people don't. That is how this works. You're actually totally getting everything that everybody else is getting, just at different times. So so don't think that it's not working. The I don't know, are we fans? What are we? We're groupies. We're whatever. We're not groupies, but the regular process is that we check, we refresh once a day or twice a day, and then we get in our Slack and say anything for you, anything for me, who's got it. And so maybe we'll start sharing that journey with you. But just want a heads up, if you're not in that party, that is how it goes. So the fact that you don't have it today doesn't mean you don't have it.
Last year, right, Beth, you'll test this because we would all say this. We would actually be live talking to people also in the AI exchange. And live, people are like, I see this, now it's gone. Now I see this, now it's gone. They were literally making updates at OpenAI and rolling them and pushing them to different people. And there was about 6 of us on any given day when this was happening, and we would see 6 different variations of it. And somebody would say, hold on, and so everybody else would say, well, what does it do when you press that button? And sometimes there would be something that happened. And sometimes they go, oh, no, it disappeared again. It's like, okay. And then, oh, it's back. So we do see this. I wanted to say also, they changed the look a little bit. They rounded the corners of like your discovery buttons, your conversation starters, they're called. Sorry for custom GPTs. And they're a little bit rounder, a little bit nicer rectangle. And they're colored a little bit as well. So that's some other visual changes to it.
Like the account settings are in a different location now and all those kinds of things. I mean, I like the UI changes. It matches up with other things that I have. But I want to go back to what Beth was saying. And yes, the rollout does happen over time. And this is part of the AI tech cycle, right? Everybody does this. Google does this, Meta does this, Microsoft does this. It's like, oh yeah, we'll announce all of these things. And then you'll get a little bit today. You'll get a little bit in a couple of weeks. And then you'll get a little bit more in a couple of months. So to reiterate, that's the normal release cycle if you're not familiar with it.
So if you don't have people to give you this validation experience, please come back. We are happy to validate you based on what's happening. Brian occupies all of the flavors of the OpenAI ChatGPT accounts.
Listen, we always say it with this show. If you're coming and listening to this show, it's not because hopefully you're getting a lot of value out of it, of course, in news and stories like today that we'll go through that help you along in your AI journey. But also, a lot of times you're right there with us, learning along with us, and we're giving you our most up-to-date knowledge of it or whatever. And we're totally fine with the fact that that's going to change a little bit, maybe tomorrow or the next day. And when it does, we'll say, hey, remember that thing we said last week? It's wrong. this is now the new right. And come along with us. We're all here together, and we'll figure it out together, and we'll all get a lot smarter together. Obviously, like I said, there was a ton of Google stuff. Is there anything that we feel like we want to say today that before tomorrow that's like, is it a bigger, like, I don't know. How do you guys want to handle that? Because there's tons of Google stuff.
Yeah, there's so much Google stuff. I don't think there's anything. Well, maybe some side announcements, like how Patreon and Grammarly were announced to be using Google AI Tech Gemini for some back end features that they're going to announce.
Nice.
They mentioned Patreon will be using Gemini to help creators catch up with all of their messaging, so that could be a lean into the kind of things that we were seeing summarizing from like Notebook LM and other things that we can go into more depth tomorrow. But those were the kind of things. So an ancillary Google story is Project Game Face, which they announced last year, which is now being released now is where it's a technology that monitors your face with your front camera, and you can navigate using your eyes and your head movement on your screen and things like that. So that's an interesting technology that wasn't announced in their keynote or anything like that, but that's been released. So after a year of development, that's been finally released for after their announcement last year.
The new non-invasive Neuralink.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. The analog Neuralink?
That's
the clickbaity version of that.
I think without diving into any of the details of what Google announced in their 2-hour-long demonstration, division by division, coming out and illustrating how Gemini AI is being incorporated into the very broad suite of Google products. We'll get into that tomorrow. But I think it's useful to say you had this thing happening over the last 2 days where OpenAI clearly, leaked this big announcement that was coming and wanted to make it happen before Google I/O, right? To kind of take some of the wind out of what Google was going to do. And they succeeded in presenting something very compelling. And then literally the next day, Google presents pretty much matching capabilities in their ecosystem using Gemini tools. Now, the thing I want to add to that is that one of the things that comes out of the Google presentation is that Android is really central, just as Chrome is really central to the strategy for Google in incorporating AI. And one of the things that was in effect promised yesterday by Google is, a whole range of capabilities built natively into the Android operating system with AI tools. And that was the first time ever that I thought, maybe I'm going to need to get an Android phone. Yeah. And then at the same time, there are these rumors swirling that Apple is working with OpenAI and finalizing an agreement to incorporate OpenAI into iOS. So we see the battle lines being drawn, like your iOS phone with OpenAI and your Android phone users with Gemini, and maybe some crossover players like us needing to, be facile with both of them. So I think that's a very interesting thing, this competitive landscape between now Google and OpenAI, pretty much diminishing, in my mind anyway, a lot of the second range players out there who are very, very capable developers of AI, but don't have the platforms for distribution that Google and now OpenAI will through Apple.
What about Amazon?
Yeah, what do they have for distribution other than Alexa?
Don't they make notebooks? Don't they make computers and stuff? I might be wrong on that. I thought they did. I thought they had Amazon.
No, their hardware is internal. They're all about the infrastructure for running their business. So they're going to live in the shovels and pickaxes realm for a while and not be,
product version.
They won't be terribly client facing.
Go ahead, Beth.
Two thoughts about that. One, Amazon's generative AI or software AI has made it to the head of the software leaderboard. We usually focus on the LM leaderboard, right? But software engineers are rating Amazon as the top for that. And Andy, I don't know if we announced it last week, but Google released Pixel 8a, which is a $499 Android phone. So it's just $300 than your Rabbit investment. So it might, in fact,
a bargain basement compared to new iPhones too. That's not bad for a new phone, honestly. I mean, that's bargain basement compared to.
Can you have two phones with the same number? I don't think so.
Probably.
Well. We won't go into too much detail, but there's some spoofing things you can do. But I digress.
Hey, Jimmy, you mentioned about two news stories that are outside sort of Google and open up, because believe it or not, other stuff happened this week in the last 7 days that was not these two events, although they took up a line share this week. But two I want to mention, because we're seeing this, right? Is the expansion of natural language search across insert app. So the two that I have for today that aren't really surprising are Expedia. They're rolling out some new search functions in there. I believe they said specifically they're using ChatGPT for theirs. And what they're basically doing is allowing people to have like more detailed conversations. This is not surprising. We've seen this where it's not just, I want to go visit New York City, but it might be like, I have a child who's on the autistic spectrum and has sensitivity issues, and I'm looking to plan 4 days. We're looking for things that might work. You know what I mean? It's just a normal, natural way of saying it. And kind of like we saw with Google yesterday, where it's like, it will pick out the right words, so to speak, in order to figure out what the best keywords are to do this. So we're seeing this with Expedia. I will just say really quick on that. This is what I'd rather see with the whole travel industry. All this BS with like these agents who are going to book a trip for me. I'm not that, target audience, honestly. I mean, someday, don't get me wrong, someday that sounds nice. But for like the next 5 years, I would just love it if, like what Expedia is doing, if they just provide a better user experience. I don't need you to go book the actual ticket for me. I'm probably going to want to be the human in the loop at that level anyway, before I just throw you my card and say, spend $700 or $900 on this ticket, whatever. But if you're going to help me do a better job of giving me a detailed trip that my specific family could enjoy, maybe bringing in some weather and stuff like that, yeah, sure, that sounds great to me. And that would push me towards using one of these apps. The other one really quick is TikTok. And TikTok is expanding theirs. I think they also said they're using ChatGPT. They've also used a little bit of Google search. And that's not surprising, because I have a teenager, and they said they're just picking up on a common trend of their young users, is what the article says, which is increasingly using TikTok as a search engine. So is the future of a TikTok going to push more into that area, with now these new advances in AI that are going to help them get there anyway, and they can just tether onto it? I mean, I definitely could see my daughter doing that. She likes to either talk into her phone, aka Siri, and I've said that before, or she's more likely to go to TikTok. Sometimes Google Maps, depending on if it's a geographic type thing, but she does not go to Chrome. She does not open up Safari. She wouldn't even think to do that, like, unless she got frustrated with one of them. She just goes, blah, 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 whatever it is, to Siri. And then she went. And so we know that's going to get better. Hopefully we'll hear a lot more about that in a month. But then these kids are using TikTok and finding things to buy, or if they're finding, recent events, the same way I would have used Facebook and Facebook groups and that kind of thing. Interesting. So those are two stories I wanted to share real quick.
It makes a lot of sense for TikTok. They released the TikTok store. I can imagine just speaking into it, and then it's going to bring up their top videos of the subject, and they're going to give you the store, the store links if you're looking for a product. That totally aligns. Now, I do have a couple of stories that are not Google and OpenAI AI related. One of them, and I like to focus on stories that I think are good AI wins, right? So one of them is this Berlin-based company called Trawa. I think that I'm not sure if that's the actual pronunciation, but TRAWA. And what they've designed is a AI-based management tool for energy producers and energy buyers. So in Europe right now, they've seen huge spikes in energy costs and sustainable energy reserves and things like that because of the conflict going on in Ukraine. But so they're partnering with sustainable energy and renewable energy producers, and using their AI management tool to work with companies or energy buyers to efficiently find the most efficient package of energy offers, and what they can use in their own generating systems, and their own energy usage and things like that. And we've sort of touched upon this about the top 50 AI companies when we were reviewing that report. And so this sort of falls within that line where if you use this management software, you can find significant savings in using this tool to find the best path of your energy purchases and your energy usage. So I thought that was a win for good AI in a real applied sense, so that these companies and organizations can have a sustainable energy supply when that's sort of in flux right now. And the other one was Cornell University released their research about using AI with robotics to help those people with severe mobility limitations, particularly in feeding, the feeding process and things like that. So if you've got cerebral palsy or, spinal cord injuries and things like that, that's that is a big concern, is how do you keep yourself fed and all of that healthcare that's involved. And so Cornell released this research about developing a robot that can help with that process using machine learning and their AI program. And so far they've been successful. So I consider that a big win in the good AI arena as well, so that we can see these actual real world applied usage for AI, and not just in the possible doom and gloom scenarios and things like that. So those are the two stories I thought we should be highlighting.
Those are good ones. I like those.
Yeah. On the subject of safety, one of the news items is that the United States and China are having AI safety talks to prevent a doomsday scenario in which weaponized AI on both sides are used. And so, if we know that, there's a long history of Russia's use of the web and the internet to sow discord among democracies, just in order to be able to claim that, democracy doesn't work. So be happy about the Putin regime. But if we could, enter into some kind of agreement with China that, prevents a ganging up of the dark side against the democratic liberal West, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I was going to add something else to that. Go ahead, Beth. I just got another one, and I sidetracked.
Well, on the note of good AI, Rad.ai. Rad AI is a startup that helps radiologists save time on report generation. They just raised $50 million, and I think it's another sign of there being a real upside in terms of healthcare and the time to service. And this isn't healthcare, but if you're a Verizon customer, this might be of interest to you, because Verizon unveils new AI tools to transform the customer experience. And as a Verizon customer, I welcome a transformation of my customer experience. Like, let's try it.
Yeah, the bar is low. What do we have to lose?
That's to fix their customer support, I presume, not to add any new features to the Verizon phone.
Well, the customer support can be like both engage online or call in, but also there's a customer support aspect of this in the Verizon store. It really does look like trying to engage people at every place where a human interacts with them, which yes, yay. Let's move this journey together.
Before you guys go on to another, can I go back real quick on Rad AI? Can I just tell you my child of the 80s and 90s excitement level rise so high when you said there's a new company called Rad AI. I was like, what do they do? I need to know immediately. This is going to be my new favorite company. And then you said, in what felt like the lowest of letdown, oh, it's just revolutionizing radiology with AI. And I was like, ah.
It's probably AI.
Boo.
Ryan, I was totally with you. As soon as Beth said Rad AI, I was like, are they bringing back the BMX bike?
Yeah,
are we gonna have AI, dirt bikes and stuff like that?
Yeah, best name ever. First of all, so good on you, radai.com. I want to give them credit. I hope you do amazing things in healthcare. But the fact that you don't have 90s colors on your website and your logo isn't a kid on a BMX kicking a leg off to the side, I feel like it's a miss.
Okay, now shifting from your cultural, reminiscences there to the geopolitical again. I was talking about, the possibility of, large nation states, influencing others using AI. There's another large nation state at play out there, and that's Microsoft. And Microsoft, as one of the most valuable companies in the world, has an enormous treasure chest larger than most countries. And they've just earmarked $4.3 billion investment for France. So you see some international diplomacy between Microsoft and France and others. And we've been talking about this trend that we're observing with Microsoft, making substantial infrastructural and sort of investment grade encouragements to the development of AI in other countries. And there's now a long list of those countries where they've made these enormous investment commitments. And now, just as of yesterday, they announced this $4.3 billion investment in France.
You know what I think the coolest part about that is, when you read the article, skill and train 1 million French people by the end of 2027. And building AI fluency is a huge part of this investment. And it was also something they had started in March. I will not attempt to say what the name of it's Avu something, right? It's in French, the initiative that they have, but it's a partnership with France Travail to train job seekers with the skills they need to use AI technologies. Now, look, I'm not saying this doesn't directly help. It's not all altruistic. I mean, Microsoft does well by having more people who have data and AI or AI fluency, right? In France. That totally makes sense. It's not like Microsoft is like, we're just going to do this. They get something out of it too. But, Beth, you always talk about, AI literacy and how important that is and just getting people trained up. So I just love seeing that was part of this. They'd already started it, but it's also a big part of this $4.3 billion push, which is super cool. I'm
just really an aside here, the word that you were looking for in French is travail, which is work, but it's related in English to the word travails, which is hardships, right? and so it just reflects how in some linguistic confusion, work has become associated with hardship in the United States, whereas in France it's something that you do only on every other day or something. I'm not sure how that works.
Well, I put the name in our personal chat if you want to give a shot at if you can pronounce that, Andy. I don't know if you can pronounce. My wife has actually been taking French since we're going to be over there for the Olympics, but and she's been doing pretty good with it. But I don't do so great with the pronunciation. So
I'm sorry. I thought you said travail.
I did. That's part of it too. But this is the name of the initiative.
À vous l'IA. Okay, so this is for you, AI.
Oh, perfect.
Oh.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Cool.
I want to make sure we get to something that is important that just literally happened yesterday. And it is back to OpenAI. Sorry, but it's not about their announcement. It's actually that Ilya Sutskever, I think I said his last name, has decided to leave OpenAI. And if you don't remember, number one, he's been instrumental in OpenAI and what they've ultimately achieved. I just watched a Sam Altman interview that was from yesterday. So it was post 4.0, which was kind of cool because he was able to talk about it on a podcast. It was like a 40-minute conversation with a gentleman. And he didn't talk about this, but he talked about how now it seems obvious that after like GPT-2, GPT-3 even, OpenAI made command decision to go towards LLMs. They had been in gaming, apparently. They had been in some other areas, but they decided to focus the company anyway. Ilya was a huge part of that. But he was also part of the shakeup that happened in November. You might remember, if you listened to us, about Sam was actually booted out of the company, and Ilya was on the board and part of that sort of coup that happened. Then he reversed order and said, no, he demanded that Sam come back, but so did the rest of the company. It was a crazy 48, 72 hours of craziness back in November. And so he was part of that. And then it seemed like his voice got diminished a bit. And so this isn't surprising to me, but I definitely see it. I mean, Sam put out a personal statement about it. I definitely see it as a hit and a blow to OpenAI, because no doubt this guy is infinitely smart. Now, somebody else also left, Jan Leak. I don't know Jan, but she's also been there for quite a while. And Jacob Pachoki, who's been there for 7 years, will succeed Ilya as the head of research. So just a little bit of shakeup, but people come and go from these big companies a lot and move over and stuff. Ilya said he's leaving to work on a personal project, but didn't say what it was. Said he would announce that at a later time. So, I hope he has a lot of success onto whatever he does. But sort of a loss for sure for OpenAI. But it's been tough to see what have these last 6 months been like for him at the company anyway. And that's stuff that obviously is internal. We don't know unless somebody writes a tell-all book one day, right? So
yeah,
so if you didn't get the gist of that, where is Ilya? Ilya has been found.
There you go.
Leaving. He's been found leaving.
And what kind of excites me is to find out what project is he working on, and two, how is that involved in the world of AI? But also, we know that the talent pool is fairly shallow right now for AI leaders, especially
at that level
and research and stuff like that. So whatever he does and wherever he goes is going to be a huge win for whatever that organization is, or his own organization, or anything like that. Yeah, so that's
Mungo agrees.
I'm really excited to follow what the next steps are.
Well, I want to make sure we announce that. Look, there's always a ton more news, and we do a wrap-up show every other week where we have an opportunity to kind of circle back to some of this. That won't be this Friday; that'll be next Friday. So we'll have an opportunity to sort of circle back on this. Now, tomorrow we've purposely left out much of the Google I/O stuff, and honestly, I didn't realize that event. Me personally, I didn't realize that event was going to be as huge in AI as it was yesterday. It was 2 hours and it was chock full, and wow, did they go over a lot of stuff. So I was already thinking there was a great show to be had just on their medical advancements in DeepMind. And they did mention that yesterday, which is super cool. AlphaFold 3 and what's going on there. So we'll do our best to take 30 to 35 to maybe 40 minutes and cover as much of that tomorrow as we can, and talk to you about all of us sort of the big things that are either here with Google or in sort of typical Google. You can see it, but you can't touch it for 6 more months. And so we'll talk about maybe some of their future, their Astra project, and all that. And can I just say really quick, as we're sort of wrapping up, we could talk about this tomorrow, but this is just my personal opinion. I really felt like it was a miss when they first had Bard, right? I thought, whoa, that name does not feel good. I understand why they did it. It was a Shakespeare reference and everything else, but it just didn't roll off the tongue. Man, I feel like they course corrected with Gemini. It just sounds fun. It sounds like space exploration. It sounds like the farthest reaches and advancements of our science and technology. And they kept talking about Gemini and Gemma and all these one-off and gems, all these one-offs of the words. And then Astra, also science, also space related. And I thought, as I was listening yesterday, man, did they course correct and nail this? That's just my opinion, but wanted to throw that out there, is that I really like the Gemini name and everything they're doing with it.
I agree. I think there should be more things that highlight good outcomes for the word and the name Gemini, so that those of us who were born under that astrology sign don't get so much crap in that world. I'm just saying, I have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder.
About that. Yeah, if they named it Aquarius or something. Well, as Jen says in her comments there, 30-ish, heavy on the ish, which means it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, Jen, for the reminder. Thank you. Mungo Jelly, Jen, thank you so much for being in the comments. We had tons of people live on this show today. Don't forget, if you're loving what we're doing, if you like this, by the way, Mungo Jelly said it in our comments today. Wow, you guys do this every day? Yes, we do. We do this. If you're new to us, we do this 5 days a week. So not every day, but every weekday, we come to you with a new topic in AI. We spend 30 minutes with you. We hang out with you. Think of us as sort of a morning show. Grab your coffee, listen to what we have to say. We'll get you caught up. We'll teach you something new. We dive deep in some deep AI topics. And if you're loving it, hey, a subscribe or a like along the way helps us out as well. So that's it for today. Hit that like and subscribe button as Beth is saying in our channel here. And we will see you guys tomorrow to do a big deep dive into Google. So that's coming up. See you guys then.
Aloha.